What I might do, you both eating, so maybe, but since I've got an audience, maybe I should get some audience participation. So what are the challenges anybody has with time on a weekly basis? Anything anyone wants to share?
Challenges with time? Other people keep interrupting my time, and I think I have time, and then other people go, oh, let's do this, and then I have no time.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Any other challenges with time? What if you have
your
no
internet keeps breaking up,
interruptions?
so that doesn't help.
I think mine's all right, isn't it? Is it? I think is it you
I would
guys?
say sort of knowing. Maybe.
No, not you, Steve. I meant Emily. But
Okay. Oh, Emily looks all right.
I'd say time-wise for me is knowing what's going to be in that week, because it varies so much with my role, depending on what's going on with other people as well. So like how many confirmation statements I might do. It's not like I have a set amount that I'm going to do every week. So I can't say, right, an hour a day or 5 minutes a day I'm going to set aside just for that, because sometimes I could spend 10 minutes doing confirmation statements, or we have issues like this where we could be reading a few documents for an hour trying to figure out what clients have actually done for us to be able to file one.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Rich? Anything around time challenges?
yeah, there is a bit, but mine's more because of the fact that obviously issues arise from staff, basically managing staff, because they just have helping to meet their needs, and the questions that they have which arise from that, and just tackling those issues really. So you obviously have your day planned out of what you plan to do, you know, such it be obviously I've got a list of VAT returns to review, for instance, or an accounts jobs to review and go through, and then things pop up, such as, you know, someone will message me and say, can you help me with this? Or I'll get an email from a client saying I've got a problem, I've got an issue, or you know, and then that may become an urgent issue, which I then have to deal with. So that actually then
have to agree with the answer.
I'm sorry, that's something in the background. So I'm listening.
that then adjusts your sort of time then, and it has a negative effect on your time that you'd planned out to do these jobs.
Yeah.
So, but you know, you try and factor in those adjustments that you sort of inevitably know are going to happen, in with what you've got to do anyway. You know.
What about anybody from any previous jobs as well? Anything? Because obviously we're talking about the current role. Anything you want to share from previous jobs? Any time challenges you've had, so we can get more of a global view?
I'd say from my last job, where I was only working, not the last one because I just ignore that I was ever there, but DLB, I was only there part-time, so it was quite hard, especially when I first started. They were in a really big, for some reason it was just mental, like every boiler was breaking and every light was going out. So where I was only working part-time, I was struggling to action all the clients' needs because I was only there for such a short period of time. I didn't actually have a chance to do everything, and Dan didn't want to pay me any more to keep me there.
Always more things to do than you had time to do, basically.
Yeah, it was like that, definitely, at the start.
Yeah. What about you, Emily, your previous job?
I think one of my last jobs when I was at the car club was, because we had an event season, we would be rushed off our feet, like not a minute to breathe between March and October, and then it would go dead. So we'd have those peaks and troughs of half the year, you would not have time to stop and you could not get everything done. And then the rest of the time, some of the time, you'd be sitting there going, there's literally nothing to do. We've done everything. So it's managing the workload as it comes in throughout the year. And sometimes you're going to be really busy and sometimes you're not.
Anything from your perspective, Rich, of your last or previous jobs?
Yeah, and I think this is probably going to be a common theme here as well. I would say, I may be wrong, but obviously there's the peaks and troughs with workload, in terms of times of years. But I felt that the planning was something that really sometimes wasn't great in terms of knowing when jobs were going to be it was going to be high capacity, low capacity, sort of low capacity. You know, when work was going to be in more that there was going to be more work in than there wasn't, and actually sort of then them sort of planning to sort of say, right, okay, well, let's get a push on to get jobs in, so that actually when we're in this low period of work being in or due or stuff like that, we can get the work in to actually sort of even it out and potentially take the burden off of the high capacity areas, and maybe even sort of spread that across the year, which it didn't ever seem to happen. It was always ended up being the peaks and troughs rather than an even balance, which something was no one ever had the foresight to action.
Yeah, I see. Yes, okay, so I'm just going to introduce something around time. I'm going to start with some bigger picture thinking, and I'm going to drill into a couple of more specific tools and strategies. So actually, this is quite interesting because this is all to do with rocks, but not in the term rocks as we know it. So rocks as we know it is something we need to do in a 3-month period. But actually, it's really about time management and priorities. So I'm going to get a different bowed man to speak now. He's got no beard, not because I'm lazy, but he's very good at sharing his thing. His name's Stephen Covey, and I'm going to. This is really useful. I used to show this to everyone who joined the business. So if you haven't seen, has anyone seen this video before on the screen here?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. So
No.
just watch this. But yeah.
I thought it was going to be a different kind of rock.
Yeah.
Telling me there'll be
What's the sound like, by the way? Because it's coming through my computer.
I don't know yet.
It's yeah.
It's music playing.
day. Your life as well, be life, right?
Yep.
Have a work life,
Yep.
family life.
Can you hear that okay?
It's quite quiet.
Yeah, it is something.
Okay, we'll try it. We'll listen 60 seconds, see how we get on.
Very, very busy life, right?
Yep.
Have a work life,
Yep.
family life as well. Children, not yet. What's the nature of your work, Simon?
Consulting.
Consulting. You have a part of a firm, consulting firm,
Yes, I do. I direct an international firm.
an international firm. So you really are interfacing with all kinds of people in the firm and outside the firm.
That's right.
You also
Is that understandable, the sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
do direct work with the clients yourself. And you have a number of associates you work with
Mhm.
all around this country and throughout the world. Starting,
Yes.
you want a rich personal life and a rich family life and also community and so forth. Do you ever feel like you get bogged down in the thick of thin things?
Yeah.
You ever feel like your life is kind of out of balance, out of whack?
It can be.
Do you ever feel like you're in the pounding surf?
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you just have one big wave after another knock you down, you stagger back, and then here comes another wave, and another one knocks you down to where it just kind of beats you up. Well, that might be analogous to all these little small things tend to fill our life. That just little by little, they just accumulate. Now, your job, you can't go above this, is to get all those large rocks in the jar. Good luck. I describe each of the rocks as she puts them in. What's that one called?
Q2. Planning, preparation.
Right. Planning, preparation, prevention, and empowerment.
That's what you're talking about there, Rich. Planning and preparation in your previous job with the accounts.
You too. That which is not urgent but important.
Am I picking these up in any order?
Any way you want. You want to get them all in there because they're all important.
Can I move the little rocks?
Well, you have the little rocks as they are now, but you can't go above this.
Okay. Can I put this down?
Sure.
Hmm.
And the next rock you
Different
put in there
folders
is
for the
called
same.
relationships and family. It's trying to make it so she can get them all in there
Different. No, different.
on the assumption that by moving the other ones around, makes more space. You didn't look at that third rock you put in there. That's employment, some key employment issue, and then you put major projects here. And I can't get it above there.
I haven't worked it yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's fair.
Not gonna work.
It's called Service Community Church. Do you ever feel like this?
Yeah.
How many feel like this?
Still going?
Yeah, you can try to get them in there. You're a hands-on person.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
She just put down the sharpen the saw. Pretty frequently do that. I just don't have time today to sharpen the saw. You ever been too busy driving to take
Sharpen the saw means training and development, by the way, that sort of stuff.
time to get gas? Vacation's important to her. By moving the little things around, you might squeeze in one more of those big major things. Almost. Wow. You know, if it doesn't fit, force it.
Do I have to really put all of these in one?
Well, no, you can neglect a big opportunity if you want. Here's something that's called urgent and important. It's a quadrant one thing that is blindsiding you, that it's your biggest client, that if you don't get back to that client now, you've given up your vacation. And you have no special block of time just for yourself. You have no young children.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'll tell you what you can do if you want to. You can take a whole different approach. You have a totally fresh goal. You can work out of a different paradigm altogether. You can do anything you want.
I can use that bucket. That's what you can.
Anything, yeah.
Well, then I'd rather put these in the bottom. And then put a little pebble. Vacation,
Today she has sharpening the saw, planning, preparation,
spouse,
spouse,
vacation,
employment,
big opportunity,
big opportunity,
important and urgent, block of time, community, search. Those young children keep looking at me. My husband's not here. No, I don't. These in there.
okay?
Gonna work.
Got all the important things in first, right?
All right.
What did you learn?
I learned if I have an opportunity to do all the things that are important first, block out when I have the fullest amount available, and then all the little things will fill in the important thing.
Even if this were higher with the green rocks, you may neglect some of those, see? But so what?
These are just fillers.
Fillers, and they're not important. These things you've decided are the most important things.
Any thoughts on that, guys?
I think I've seen that before, but done with different like sand colours
Yeah.
and different in the way they, but I think it was more so the way they all intertwine rather than it being like the big things that should stay there first. It was like you put them all together, but they've all got their own section that follow one another, sort of thing.
But yeah, the concept obviously being the larger blocks being the most important things. Yeah, and the fact that the other things will just fit in around the most important bits, basically. And it doesn't matter if you slightly neglect them; they're not going to affect.
So just
They're not going to have a major effect, basically, because they'll fall into place, as such.
Yeah, and like what you might have looked at, Georgia, is there's two contexts of that thing. One is Stephen Covey's around rocks and time. The other one's actually a science thing. You know, I'd done it in science years ago, and that was almost a science experiment of how much you can fit in a space. And actually,
Yeah.
you could, with that particular one, it's sand, and then they add water into it as well. There's more.
Yeah.
With his, it's purely about the time management. So what I'm going to share now is actually a tool that you can use to get an idea of what your kind of important things are. So everybody's job is different. So everybody, everyone feels like they got to do everything. But normally when you go through, some things are more important than others. Some things are more urgent than others, and some things are more important than others. And there's a little sign in the office somewhere that says to choose time is to save time. And I've kept that from the very beginning because I think it's true. So this is actually Stephen Covey's time management matrix. And the idea is you've got these 4 boxes or quads. They call it quad 1. So quad 1, 2, 3, and 4. And where a lot of us spend our time is quad 1. I think the color coding is not necessarily how I'd have the color
No,
coding.
I
Let me
do
find-
red as the
Yeah,
urgent
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one. That's a funny diagram. So basically, yeah, this is a more typical version of that, and this is how my Todoist actually lets you give it 4 colours, and this is the colour schemes it uses. Well, again, it should be red. Number 1 should be red, really. But if you ignore the colour, the point is really that should be our. Which box do you think we should be spending most of our time in?
Important but not urgent. 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other views on that? No.
No, because obviously you want to do important stuff, but you don't want to be feeling like you're overrun by
Yeah.
it all the time.
Don't want to be doing it last minute.
Yeah, and that's it. So actually, a really simple thing you can do, and you can do this at the end of the week and at the beginning of the week. I would say it's I don't necessarily always do this, but when people are new to looking at their time, do you ever feel, where's the day gone, where's the week gone, there's all these things I haven't done. If you can just log, even if you don't do a timesheet, because the chargeable people do a timesheet, but the other people, you could just note down in bullets the kind of main activities you're doing. It might be like speak to Steve for an hour and a half, emails an hour, phone calls, helping this team member, or doing a client's accounts, whatever it is. If you can log them at the end of the week, or do it as you go along, create a little spreadsheet, and if you or a piece of paper, whatever you prefer, you can literally print off. There's PDF versions of this. I can share that. We can print it off and write down what that activity was. What quadrant does it belong in? And that's quite interesting to have a look back, because a lot of people end up with all their time in quad 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go back to the video, it's that was the wrong way around, wasn't it? If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not saying you can definitely ignore all these quadrant 1 activities, but what you'll find is the more time you spend in quad 2, the more planning, goal setting, training, researching, bigger picture stuff, solving problems for the long term, not just the short term, the less Q1 problems you're going to have.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? People fear doing quad 2 stuff because they worry about the fact that they need to get stuff done, and that if they think if they spend too much time doing goal setting, planning for the future, that they're not attending what's needed to be done, whereas actually a bit of planning would end up saving time for the future.
Saving time in the future. You'd move some of those quad 1 things from not meeting deadlines and things into quad 2,
because you've pre-planned for it to be
because
there.
you've pre-planned for it.
As I a phrase I like to use, obviously a short-term pain, long-term gain sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually a Stephen Covey thing. It's one of his. It comes from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's a mini book somewhere around the office. I can't remember
I've seen
what.
that actually.
Yeah, it might be number 5. Habit was sharpen the saw, which is what he said. So it's actually a story where there was 2 tree cutters, and they're in the forest. They're both cutting down the trees with their saw, and they're both going at it from the beginning of the day in the morning. And the one guy keeps on looking at the other guy, and he's like, "Oh my God, he's taking a break again." And he's having all these breaks throughout the day. But the guy's like, "I'm not taking a break. I'm going to be on this all day. I want to get it done. I want to finish early." And it gets, I don't know, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The guy keeps on looking over to the one taking the breaks, is still going. And then the guy who's took all the breaks finishes. His tree falls down and he's finished. He's done for the day. And the other guy's, that doesn't make any sense. Carries on, finishes, never 2 hours later, 5 o'clock or whatever. And he goes over to the guy who took all the breaks. And he said, "I don't understand. I didn't take any breaks and you finished way before me." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I wasn't taking breaks. I was sharpening the saw."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Making
that's
it more
quite
efficient for himself to
Yeah.
do the job.
He
Yeah.
gets the job done quicker.
Yeah.
So it's it's how can we sharpen the saw, and you can take that to mean whatever you want it to mean. But carpenter, they say measure twice, cut once, don't they?
Yeah.
Really.
That's
So
it,
I'm probably going to wrap it up rather than go into practical things. My takeaway would be the concept of the rocks, the priorities. What I would say from a time management perspective, I haven't looked at systems. In the future, I might look at my week and calendars and systems and stuff. But what I would say for people, for your rocks, so rocks not as we know it, but rocks for the week for you guys. So if you don't start I'll go into practical tools, but if you don't start the week with a plan or any intention, you will get pulled into other people's direction. That is a fact. That, like, you've got no chance, because if you say I didn't get anything done, but you didn't know what you wanted to get done at the beginning of the week, you've got no chance. Okay, you know and that's what a lot of people do. That's where a lot of people live.
It sort of comes into our 3 daily questions as well at the minute, because in the morning we're sort of making a plan of what we're telling people we're going to do. So in your brain, subconsciously, you know that that's what you need to do for that day. So that is a good, yeah, it's a very small time management thing, but it is just a sort of confirming it in you that this is what you want to do.
I'm just going to share with you something I use, and then this is specific from Strategic Coach, but you'll get the concept. The reason I'm sharing this is I don't know if any of you have used to-do lists where you just add all the things you need to do on a to-do list. And how do you get on with the to-do list, Emily?
I usually do really, really well for about a week or something, and then it all builds up, and then I stop using it, and then I start a new to-do list and spend another hour putting everything back on my new to-do list. So it's all new again.
Do you know what they call that? To-do list bankruptcy. You just declare bankruptcy. You know, start a new to-do list.
I'll start a new one, and on my to-do list will be right to-do list, and then I can cross something off.
Well, you've got something like Todoist, which I think, do you use Todoist, Emily? Or,
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Wow, I did. This is one of the to-do lists I declared bankruptcy on and haven't used it for ages.
Okay. If anyone wants, I'm going to do another time management session on tools, but Todoist is an app you can use to manage your to-do list. You can sort it into sections, projects. You can give it quadrants, Q1, Q2. Basically, is it red flag? Is it urgent and important? My orange is important but not urgent. So really, it's not about the software. It's about how human behavior is really what it's about, because some people like to tick things off and feel like they're getting stuff done. And there's a book called Eat That Frog. Has anyone heard of that? No. So the concept behind that is, if you ate a frog in the morning, you're unlikely to do anything more horrible for the rest of the day. Okay. So if you think of your tasks, do you ever get something that you put off? You're like, I need to get this done, but I'm not actually, I've got easier stuff I can just get on with. I'll do that later on.
Yeah.
I've done, yeah.
I've done that before though, where I then go, right, if I just do that now, I can actually then enjoy the rest of my day, because I won't enjoy my day if I know I've got to do it. And even if I'm doing all my nicer tasks, I'll spend the whole time worrying about this thing I've got to do.
Worrying about starting it.
Yeah.
So the point of that is, can you eat your frogs earlier on so that everything else is easier, if you know what I mean? Kind of the same as a rock. It's not the same thing, because frog's not always the most important thing, if you know what I mean, but it's the thing that may be on your mind. So my little takeaway to finish would be, don't try and plan everything. Don't try and put 10 things on your list every day. Just start by the beginning of the week saying, what are the 3 most important things for me to get done this week? And then make sure you try and get those things done. And I'm just going to share with you something I use for this. And I can share some team tools. So I use a little weekly planner here. And no one will probably understand my writing. Maybe Emily, because she looks at it sometimes.
I do.
And it's not, we're not going to have time to talk about some of the concepts here, but at the top it says both buffer days or focus days. So in this time system I use, really, like short description of it, a focus day is stuff that's going to generate revenue in the business in some way later on or now. Okay, so for me, a focus day is marketing, sales, in front of clients, doing profit first stuff, training a team to do something with clients. That's all going to have an impact on revenue. A buffer day is kind of back office, it's preparation, training, learning. So we can all tweak that, but I won't worry too much about that at the moment. But what you do at the beginning of the week, if you have something like this, is the 3 crucial results you want this week. That's why I said 3 things, because there's almost no excuse, is there, to say these are the 3 things that make it a good week for me. And you're going to build that positive focus, that momentum. So one of them, Georgia, was to smash an A&E meet.
That they cancelled, they ruined that for you.
Oh, did they? I saw it was booked.
Yeah.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, they cancelled it. The meeting of the meeting.
The morning.
The morning of the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bin them
So-
off.
But I won't go into this now, but it's something we can bring in later on. But I've actually got a 90-day version of this, which is my big thing to the quarter. So it's not like this is all I need to do. I look at my 90 days and here's my big project. So if I need to bring stuff in, but I will relate this to what's my daily plan. And I find it helps if I've got a loose plan for the day. I think of it as football, Rich. If you look at Man United, it's like they haven't got a plan before they go on the pitch.
It's just rude.
That's just real.
It's true though.
Yeah,
It's just
I'm a Man
real,
United
yeah.
supporter, so I can say it. I talk about that in my book. Is if you don't know what the perfect game plan is before you go on the pitch, how have you got any chance of it happening? If you're not training for it, you're not visualizing it, you're not planning for it. So it's the same with your week and your day. So less is more though, I would say. And then strategic projects. That could be your rocks. It could be stuff you want to get done that's in the freezer in the next 90 days. It's good just to have the bigger picture stuff in mind so that it's something that it's there to focus on. They're the rocks in many ways, your strategic projects. Yeah, so that's all I really wanted. And the bottom bit, I might share this recording, so I might not show any too much detail down there. But the bottom bit is what we call the farm club. And I think everybody can take a little bit out of this, actually. The farm club is what the key relationships I need to nurture in the next 90 days that can have a positive impact on the business. It could be direct client stuff. Sometimes it can be team members. I need to focus on what they're doing. But all of you might have that. So you might have like this week, who do I really want to reach out to? Client wise, team wise. Who should I invest time in? So I think that's quite an important thing to look at. That's me done, but we'll come back to some practical stuff in another session. But any questions, any feedback?
No, I quite liked it.
Good. I think
Yeah,
keeping them short is good because then people are more likely to kind of fit them into their day.
Yeah.
Short snippets rather than going. I suppose you can then have separate ones where you go more in depth with things, but things like this, yeah.
Yeah, and this is actually a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but it's still relatively shorter than what it's been in the past.
Yeah, it's only
So-
just over half hour.
It's not
Yeah.
bad, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, I'll leave it there. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
See you
Yeah.
later.
Steve,
Bye.
do you want to share that? You able to share the weekly planner thing with us?
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll share it, because I want to drip feed some of these resources to people. I'm going to share that there's a team version of this. I'm going to share it, and I'll do a little Loom video, and I'll see if I can find any guidance on it as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers, Steve.
Have a good
Bye.
rest of your day.
See ya.